Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be reviewing and demoing the Chantecaille Lotus collection. So this is their Holiday 2022 collection, and I picked up all three of the Complexion products. So I have two favorites here and a fail. So stay tuned for that. It's a pretty big fail, I will admit that. And then I just thought I would do my full face with you. So I'm going to be doing a really soft makeup look that you could wear on an everyday basis, so that I'm really showcasing the skin and just showing you kind of a skin enhancing, skin perfecting look that is more on the soft wearable side. So if you want to see my full review and demo on the new Chantecaille Holiday collection, just keep watching. I'm first going to start out with the Chantecaille Sheer Glow Rose Face Tint. So this is just a face tint that has a really beautiful slight rosy tint to it. My favorite way to use this is applying it as a primer kind of underneath the eyes. So I'm taking a little bit of that just on my fingertips, and I'm going to deposit that product on the under eyes to add some hydration and slight illumination. And I really like this for the under eyes specifically. You can also place this on the high points of your face, but for the under eyes, like I said, it adds a really nice hydration. And what it does is it adds a slight perfecting effect to the under eyes and also all over the skin as well, so that you require less product over top. So if I'm going to be using a foundation over top of this or anything like that, I'll just require less product. The rosy tint is very, very sheer and very slight, so it's not going to make a huge impact on your makeup. It's just that like slight perfecting effect. And then for concealer, I'm going to go in with my Chanel Le Beige Water Fresh Complexion Touch in the shade B30. So again, I want to keep everything really nice and fresh and lightweight. So I'm going to go in with something that is a little bit on the lighter coverage side so that you can see my skin still showing through, because I want this to just be enhancing makeup. So I'm just going to run that on the under eyes. This is the brush that comes with the Chanel Water Fresh Complexion Touch. And I'm going to also kind of add a little bit of coverage on that outer corner. I like to add a little bit of concealer there just because I'm a little bit dark in the outer corner, and I feel like when you add concealer on the outer corner of your eyes, it adds a nice uplifting effect. The foundation that I will be using today is the Chantecaille Future Skin Oil-Free Gel Foundation in the shade Cream. Just because this is wow, I really need to get another one. I'm like almost through this jar. But this is a really nice, lightweight foundation, so I thought it would be perfect for this look. This is still going to allow my natural skin to shine through. So this is definitely a lighter coverage foundation. This is kind of one of my favorite in-person foundations because you can't actually detect makeup sitting on your skin. So it's really good if you will be meeting someone one-on-one in person where you don't want makeup to be sitting on your skin, or you don't want your makeup to be visible or noticeable. So this is one of my favorite skin enhancing foundations. It just kind of amplifies your skin and makes it look even better than it is naturally. Really perfect for natural glam makeup. And it's definitely something that would be good for no makeup because you can go in with such a light amount of product, and it's buildable without it ever looking heavy or cakey. But because it is more on the natural side, you are still going to see pigmentation showing through. So if you're someone with a lot of freckles or dark marks, or if you have a lot of post-blemish pigmentation, you will require an additional concealer over top. But I just love this foundation. It's so youthful and plumping and fresh looking. Just a beautiful everyday foundation. Bronzer, going in with the Chantecaille Real Bronze in the shade Sirena, which is my favorite. If you can tell, I'm like halfway through this bronzer. I already have backup, so I'm good to go when this one runs out. But I'm just going in with a more powder bronzer. I was going to go in with the liquid bronzer that I've been talking about, but just because I'm going over top with powder products, I don't want there to be any sort of mishaps. I want to really test out what these products can do. So I just felt like the powder was the safest bet for this. Not that I've had any issues with this sheer face tint, the anti-aging face tint, but just in case, I just wanted to use a powder product. But this is gorgeous. It's a really skin-like bronzer. It is a gel to powder formula, so the great thing about a gel to powder product is that it's a very buildable product. In fact, you might even find it a little bit sheer when you initially work with it, but it's so skin-like, it really does meld into the skin and become one. And I'm going to go in with the Chantecaille products now. So this first item is the Lotus Radiance Highlighter This does have a slight pink tint to it, and Chantecaille says that this is a luminous highlighter that gives the high points of the face a beautiful, warm glow. So when I feel this powder, it is extremely finely milled. It does feel like a more powdery powder, so I would almost say it feels similar to the Clé de Peau, the Luminizing Face Enhancer. It kind of has that same feeling to it, but this does have a more pink undertone to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off using my Sonia G Mini Cheek brush, and I'm going to pick up some product. So I don't get a crazy amount of powder pickup when I pick up this product. It doesn't seem to be as powdery as the Clé de Peau, but it does remind me of it. It's like reminiscent of that. So I'm going to apply it to the high points. Wow, this honestly does really remind me of the Clé de Peau Luminizing Face Enhancer. Maybe a little bit more shimmery. That's actually way more beautiful than I thought it would be. Okay, I'm excited now. So originally when I saw this was a little bit of a pinky undertone, I wasn't that excited, only because I have a warmer undertone and pink highlighters tend to not look that great on me. But there's something really youthful and angelic, I want to say, about this highlighter. And it doesn't look too pink on the skin. It is really gorgeous. It offers just a slight hint of pink, but it does something very similar to this Clé de Peau Luminizing Face Enhancer. That is so interesting. And I'm excited because I do love the new formula of the Clé de Peau Luminizing Face Enhancer, but there wasn't a shade that was as brightening as this shade number 18 Orange Pink was. So I felt like that was kind of missing. And I feel like this shade is, it's not the same because this is more pink toned than that Clé de Peau highlighter, but very similar. It gives a skin perfecting effect that's very subtle. You can't actually detect that you have highlighter on the skin. Like when you look at my skin, I don't think it looks like, wow, she's applied a highlighter and that's why she's so glowy. It's just something that's very soft and subtle that's barely noticeable. It's really gorgeous. Okay, I was really hesitant about this and I didn't think I would like it that much, but I'm actually pleasantly surprised by that. I am going to take a Wayne Goss 17 brush and I'm going to take a little bit more of that product and I'm going to run a little bit on the Cupid's bow, and then I'm going to take that excess product down the center of my nose just to add a little bit of lightness there. And then you know what, maybe I'll just go on the inner corner of the eye as well. Okay, and then for another effect, I'm going to bring this down the center of the eyelid just to add some brightness there. Okay, I think that is gorgeous. It is a very subtle, soft highlighter. There are no detectable shimmer particles. I even had trouble swatching this. I hope you'll be able to see it in my product swatches, but it's so subtle and it's such a soft highlighter that there are no distinct detectable shimmer particles. So you aren't going to see a sheen from the skin. It's not even a glossy highlighter or a highlighter that looks wet. It just adds this brightness and youthfulness and dimension back to your skin. I think that's the best thing about it. It adds that lightness to your skin where it brings that dimension back and makes your skin look even better. Taking the Chantecaille Lotus Blossom Radiant Blush. I can never open these packages, why? So this one I am not so sure about. I am going to be honest about that. So Chantecaille says that this is a lightweight and radiant blush. This blush gives the cheeks a natural looking flush with a hint of pearlescence. To me, this looks more than just a hint of pearlescence. To me, this looks like a rosy toned highlighter. I'm going to try it out on the cheeks because I know people want to see it, but I don't really want to put this on my cheeks, I'm not going to lie. So I'm taking, I don't know, about the same amount I'd apply as a normal blush. I am going to tap off a bit of that excess, and I'm going to apply it to the cheeks. No, I don't like that. It's not as bad as I thought it would be. I'll say it that way. It isn't emphasizing texture like to an extreme amount, but because I did apply it to the front of my face, it is maybe making my pores look a little bit more visible. It's not terrible, but for me, I don't like how this looks. I think it's bringing too much attention in the front of my face here. I just do not enjoy how that looks on the cheeks. I like the color. I just wish this was a matte blush with a hint of radiance. I think that luminous effect is just too much for the front of my face. If I kept it back here, towards the end of my cheekbones, and if I didn't bring it up where there are pores in the front of my face, I think that would be better. So again, this probably would work better as a blush topper, but I just do not like how it looks in the front of the face at all. I don't think that looks good. It looks like I am sweating. Yeah, it looks like I'm sweating, to be honest. It looks like I need to powder my skin. So I'm going to try and correct that. Unfortunately, this is a fail for me unless you're someone that likes blush toppers, or if you're someone with a really deep complexion and you could use this as a highlighter, I think that would be pretty as well. But for me, I would never use this as a blush topper. That's just not something I do. I don't like when would I use a blush topper. That's just not how I layer my makeup personally. So for me, I would not recommend that product. So to try and correct that, I am going to wipe off all that excess product on this blush brush. I feel like it's handy to show you how I correct makeup as well while I'm going through these steps. I think another step that I will do is I will take the end of my beauty blender where I applied foundation. I'm going to go over the edges, especially in the front of my face where I feel like my pores are enhanced. I just prefer a more matte blush that has skin perfecting properties versus an illuminating blush that is just going to enhance skin texture. If you're someone with skin texture at all, or texture on the skin, I would absolutely not recommend that blush. And then I'm going to go in with the Gucci. This is the Cheeks and Eyes Powder Luminous Matte Blusher in the shade 04 Bright Coral. So I'm going to get a fair amount of product on this because I almost want to go overboard on the blush now. And I'm going to press that onto the cheeks, specifically at the front where I notice that texture is enhanced. And this gives me more of a youthful flush. And this is a more skin perfecting blush where it doesn't enhance any texture. It is on the more matte side with just a slight hint of radiance, which I personally think is more flattering on the skin. I feel like this blush makes me look more youthful, more fresh, younger, that type of thing. And then again, because I still feel like a little bit of that texture is still too much in the front of my face, I'm going to take my Chantecaille Perfect Blur Finishing Powder. I've heard you guys ask me what brush I like to use with that powder, and it is the Sonia G Master Face Brush. Really great brush. It is very soft on the face. I find the Chantecaille one just a little bit too scratchy for my sensitive skin, so this is really great if you have sensitive skin. And I'm just pressing that into the front of my face. That is way better. I think it looks better. I still notice a little bit of that sheen on my cheeks, but it is way better than how it looked initially. To finish things off, I'm going to go in with probably my favorite product of the bunch, and this is something that I have used before, so I have tested it out, and I know that I really enjoy it. So this is the Chantecaille Lotus Perfect Blur Glow Powder. So Chantecaille does say that this will smooth and perfect your complexion with this soft, focused blur powder that offers a hint of radiance. So I feel like this is a very unique product because normally when we think of a perfecting powder, you're going to think it's something more on the matte side. So again, going back to the Perfect Blur Finishing Powder, this has a very skin-like finish. This is a baked powder. So it has that ability where it melts into your skin as you apply it onto the skin, probably about 10 to 20 minutes after you've applied it. It does kind of melt into the skin where it doesn't look heavy, and it does perfect the skin where it reduces the appearance of texture or pores. If you have any discoloration, this is a really great powder because it does add a slight bit of coverage and perfecting quality, both to the texture and to the color on your skin. But this powder is supposed to perfect and smooth the complexion with a little bit of radiance added. And most of the time when powders have a little bit of radiance, you think of that more as a highlighter where they have the ability to make texture look worse. For example, that blush that I just applied, where it's more luminous, it made my texture look worse, and I just don't think it's as flattering. But this truly does add a soft focus effect. My favorite way to apply this is using this as a finishing powder. So I'm not going to be stamping this powder all over the face like I did with my Sonia G Master Face Brush. and the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Finishing Powder. I truly use this product as a finishing powder. So I'm going to go in with my Sooo G Face One. I believe this has a different name now, but I will leave that link, or yeah, I'll leave the link for this one down below, what it's actually called. So I'm going to take that product. I pick up a decent amount because what I like to do is just tap off a little bit of that excess so it's really onto my brush. And then I'm just going to run over all the edges of my makeup. So this is going to make sure that everything is beautifully blended into the skin. I'm going to have no harsh lines, so you can't really detect where one product has started and one has stopped. It makes everything blend seamlessly into the skin, so there are no harsh lines. It actually does make your makeup look better and more perfected when you add a buffing powder. I mean, specific ones. There's obviously ones that aren't going to work as well because they're just going to add texture to your skin, but this doesn't. This adds the most beautiful soft glow effect. So I feel like with this powder, my skin looks more perfected. It adds that soft focus effect. It does really look blurred out. I am so impressed with this powder. I think it is absolutely beautiful, and it does that soft focus effect, that blurred effect, without adding coverage to the skin, and you can't detect any shimmer particles because this is a more radiant powder. I was worried that you'd be able to detect that shimmer on the skin, but you can't at all. It just blends into the skin and adds this really, really beautiful effect. It's like this slight pearly effect that is so subtle and just gorgeous. I think my skin looks so much better, even though I still don't like how my skin looks at the front, just because I feel like that texture is still a little bit enhanced there. And then I would combine both of these powders together. So I would use the Perfect Blur Glow Powder all over my skin to buff everything in, to add that soft focus effect, especially on the exterior of my skin where I normally don't apply a straight up powder product. And then I would use this powder, the Chantecaille Perfect Blur Finishing Powder, to add that perfected effect where I want my skin to be mattified. So like I said, in this area here, the middle of my forehead and middle of my chin, just where I want there to be absolutely no shine. And I think this will actually help get that more skin-like effect because your skin does have more of a soft glow, maybe on the exterior. And then on the interior, you want your skin to be more matte and more perfected looking. I just figure we should do the eyes while I'm here. I'm going to do a really simple eye look. I'm going to take the Chantecaille Sunbeam Cheek and Eye shade in the shade Ray. And I am just going to use that as an eyeshadow. So I'm just going to go onto the eyelid using fingertips. This is going to be such an easy look. And for the lower lash line, I'm just going to take that Sirena bronzer and a pencil brush, and I'm going to just take that along the lower lash line, just for a little bit of color down there. I don't usually like to keep it completely blank, but that's completely optional. Mascara, I went in with the Dior Maximizer 3D Triple Volume Plumping Lash Primer, longest name ever. Just one coat of this as a lash primer, and then I went in with the Chantecaille Longest Lash Mascara in the shade Black, just one coat of this as well. And I am going to move on to the lips before talking about my final thoughts. I'm going to go in with the Chantecaille Lip Chic in the shade Bourbon Rose, which is just a really beautiful Your Lips But Better shade, slightly on the more plum side. So I'm taking that. It's really pretty looking, kind of a rosebuddy shade. It has a slight plum undertone to it. So it's more of a cool tone shade, but it's gorgeous. And then I'm just going to take a little bit of the Lip Chic in the shade Patience and go over kind of the center of the lips just to add a little bit of a lighter tone there. So that is the makeup look done, and I'm going to go over my thoughts on everything. So now that the makeup is complete, I really enjoy how the skin looks, except for right in the center of my face, like right where my pores are. I still think it looks a little bit too shiny there. I tried to take away as much of the radiance as I could in the front of my face, but a little bit is still there. So let me go over my thoughts. I'm going to start off with probably my number one pick, followed by my fail. So the first item that I really, really am loving is the Lotus Perfect Blur Glow Powder. And I enjoy this the most out of everything that I tried because I think it is the most unique release that we have seen from Chantecaille or any brand in a while. And I say that because most of the time you don't find a perfecting powder that has a little bit of radiance, a little bit of glow to it. This is different than the Perfect Blur Finishing Powder because this is matte. This has more a skin-like finish that definitely is on the matte side. You can apply it over your pore areas or any area in the front of your face. It's going to improve discoloration and texture. While this I would use more as a buffing powder, similar to like the Guerlain Meteorites, similar to the Gucci powder that I talk about. But I prefer this because, well, first of all, it's a pressed powder. It's a little bit easier. And because this is more perfecting than those two other powders that I mentioned previously, it really does add a soft focus, blurred appearance. And I have tried this using other products. So I have used this consistently for, I think I've had it for 5 days now. And every time I do my makeup, I love how it looks to buff everything together. It just looks seamless and perfected and blurred, and that really soft focus effect I think is gorgeous. So if you're looking for a blur powder that has a little bit of radiance to it, I would highly suggest this. I don't think I would suggest applying this like where you have pores, right in the center of your face, using that kind of stamping in motion. Just because it does have that little bit of radiance, I do think it will emphasize texture in the front of your face where you don't really want that to. I would personally recommend using this as a finishing powder. My second favorite, and one that I definitely would recommend as well, is the Lotus Radiance Highlighter. I was so pleasantly surprised by this product because originally I wasn't even going to pick this one up, but you guys really wanted to see this tested out. So I decided to get it, and I absolutely am in love with it. I think it is one of my actually favorite highlighters in my collection. Now, if you are someone that has the Clé de Peau Luminizing Face Enhancer in the shade Almond or in the shade 18 Orange Pink, these do very similar effects on the skin. So I would say if you have those in your collection, you do not need this powder. But if you don't have a highlighter that's similar to the Clé de Peau Luminizing Face Enhancer, especially in the old formula, I would recommend picking this up because it is truly a unique highlighter in that it doesn't leave a glossy or wet finish behind. Now, if I compare it to the Chantecaille Sunbeam Cheek and Eye shade, this is way more intense. This leaves you with that glossy effect where it kind of melts into your cheeks, but it does make it look like you have glossy cheeks. It makes you look like you have a sheen. There is some luminosity to your cheeks when you apply a product like that. So it has the, I guess, downfall that it could emphasize texture, where this just adds a lot of brightness to your skin, which I think is beautiful, and it adds a lot of dimension to your skin, which I think is gorgeous as well. So it makes your complexion look even better. It just enhances your skin and makes your skin look better without it being detectable that you have a highlighter on your skin. It is a more powdery product, but it's so gorgeous. There's something so youthful and flattering about this powder formula. If you have tried the Clé de Peau Luminizing Face Enhancers, you probably know what I'm talking about, and that this powder is just a face enhancer. It makes your skin look even better versus you looking like you are wearing a typical highlighter. Like, you're not going to see that highlighter sitting on your skin. It's just going to add dimension and brightness to your skin and bring that dimension and life back to your cheekbones, because sometimes when you apply foundation, it can dull everything out. But with this type of product, and like say with a bronzer, you're adding dimension back to the skin. This is exactly what you're doing with this, but you're adding that brightness back to your skin, which I think is just very gorgeous. And there's a kind of perfecting quality to it, but it's very subtle. It's a subtle perfecting quality. And then let's talk about this. This is the Chantecaille Lotus Blossom Radiant Blush. I don't like this. I can't even open this one for some reason. But anyways, I really don't like this. I hate saying negative things about a brand I love, but I just wish they released this blush in a formula where there's a slight radiance to it instead of it being such a shimmery blush. I just don't know who this would look flattering on. I'm honestly trying to think how it would look flattering. I guess if you used it just as a blush topper and then you didn't go in with any highlighter or anything, I think it could look fine, but you have to be really conscious of only applying it on the backs of your cheekbones. Do not apply it to the front of your face. Even if you're someone that doesn't have a lot of texture, I still think it's going to emphasize pores, and I just don't think that looks very good on anyone personally. I just think you will be unhappy if you purchase this, if I'm being honest. That is my personal opinion though. I just don't like things that are overly shimmery, but like, no, I can't recommend this product at all. I don't think it's very good, but I just don't like how this looks on the skin. So unfortunately, that is a fail for me, and I cannot recommend this product. But that is all my thoughts on the Chantecaille Holiday collection. I hope you enjoyed hearing my thoughts. Please let me know your thoughts down below. I know this was kind of a hit or miss collection, so I'd love to hear your thoughts if you're planning on purchasing anything from this collection. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Like this video if you like it, and I'll see you in my next video.